Okay. Then I welcome you all today in, I believe, to be the 5th session of the Inner Explorers Club. And today we're going to be talking about the brainstem. And at first my intention was to be talking about the brainstem and then the nervous system. But as usual, as happened every single time that I dive into these subjects, I see there is a lot of information, and I think the trick here with these classes is to really find this delicate balance between having some very interesting information about our own body and our own brains and nervous system in this case as well, but then also having a nice, of course, meditation and a nice journey into it. So I'm not going to talk too deeply about the nervous system itself, but we can expect that into the next session. So the brainstem. In general, it's divided up into 3 parts, the brainstem. And I've drawn, again, a beautiful brain. I feel like every time I draw a brain, they get a little bit worse. But you get the gesture. This is basically the front of the brain, if we were to be looking that way. And we've been focusing in the first sessions mostly on the front part, the frontal lobe. But now we're going to journey more towards the center, more towards, where our brain is starting to connect to our nervous system. And the 3 sections that I just mentioned, they are called the midbrain. Oh, I see also you see the words the other way around. We have the midbrain, that's right here on top, just below the thalamus. Then we have the pons, and then we have the medulla oblongata. And these 3 regions, they are put together because they bring 12 central nerve bundles together that actually deeply connect the functions of the brain and the functions of the rest of the body. And so if we look all the way on top, in the midbrain is mostly connected to the processing of auditory and visual elements. So information comes in through the eyes, information comes in through the ears, and it goes via the midbrain and it's being processed then throughout the rest of the brain to cause information, and then of course the reaction. Then if we, also a very interesting thing about the midbrain, which is right here in the center, is that it also has a part called the substantia nigra. And the substantia nigra is very important in the creation of dopamine and melatonin, actually. And so when people have Parkinson's disease, for example, they see that the nerve bundles here aren't producing as many nerves anymore. They're quite damaged. So over time, movement becomes way more difficult, right? So journeying down a little bit lower, which is kind of like the midsection of the brainstem, is what is called the pons, which is right here. And pons is also another word for bridge. And the pons is very important for regulating our sleep and wake cycle. It helps to regulate our breathing. And they also regulate how we receive and digest the information, for example, about pain. They suppress pain. So not like you touch yourself and immediately like, oh my God, that's the worst thing that ever happened to me. But it's being regulated there, so quite important. And what is interesting about this part is that when it's damaged, people can experience something that is called the locked-in syndrome. And maybe you've seen this in movies where someone is not able to move their entire body at all, but they're only able to move their eyes. That's often, very often, because there is damage in the pons in that bridge that connects. Of course, everything connects the brain to the nervous system, but the pons is also responsible for eye movement. So often when there's not too much damage, the eyes can still be moved, but the rest of the body cannot, which is also a bit of a bad dream, isn't it? And then we journey down, and that's really where the spine starts to begin and the nervous system starts branching into the body. And that is called the medulla oblongata. I'm going to see, maybe next time I can write them in reverse. The medulla oblongata, which I think is a really quite a cool name also. Oh, I have one. The medulla oblongata is really crucial when it comes to our entire physical body, because the information that is sent through here and moves through here basically helps us regulate our breath. It helps us regulate our blood pressure, the way our heart pumps. It's basically this big equilibrium part of our body. So we cannot live without this. And so if we were to look at these three parts and how it moves throughout the brain and into the rest of the body, we have the skull. And I realized it's just been Halloween, so I probably should have found a fake skull somewhere. But we have the skull that's basically like this bowl. And in the bowl of the skull, we have an opening. And this is where the medulla oblongata and the midbrain travels through. And esoterically, spiritually, when we look at the medulla oblongata, which is the lowest part that I was just talking about here, in some spiritual schools, this is called the mouth of God, or the ninth chakra. It is actually quite a new term. You won't see it in these ancient yogic texts, or even when the chakras were created as we know it today, which only happened in the 1900s. But some schools really believe that this is where life source comes in, which is, it's just at the bottom of our skull, at the base of our neck. This is really where the intelligence of the mind meets the body. And they see this as a very sacred place. So I would like to play a little bit with that idea, not to say that it's wrong or right, because ultimately everything that we journey into and discover during these sessions is up to you to feel and experience for yourself, right? So if you want to call it the mouth of God, be my guest, but you definitely don't have to. But there's a lot of energy that can either be tensed up here. Maybe you recognize it when you're feeling a lot of stress, then this is often a place where stress goes to, which is also deeply connected to the jaw, deeply connected to the shoulders. But it can also therefore be a place of freedom. And that's exactly what we're going to be journeying into with our meditation. We're going to do a little bit of a massage at the end. And let's connect to our brainstem. All right. So again, first timers, this was quite a bit of an information download that you've just received. But don't worry about having to remember it at all. We're just gonna experience it. And if you really want to know what it was like exactly, you can always watch the replay. Okay. Then I invite you to, if you haven't already, find a comfortable seat. Maybe switch your legs around. If you always have one leg in front, I always invite you in these classes to switch them around. Maybe try a different posture. You can also do that today. So if you, for example, always have your legs out in front, you could also try having your legs out to the side. kind of sitting on your heels, but a cushion underneath instead. Just to play with what that does to your posture. Hey, before we journey together into the meditation, I want to take a little moment to remind you that this session is shared from the Inner Explorers Club, the online meditation club in which we meditate together live every week on Wednesday. And when you sign up to join, you'll also receive access to an ever-expanding library of bonus content that helps you create a super powerful meditation practice wherever you go. Of course, all the classes are available without commercials, and by joining, you support the continuation and the growth of my free classes on here as well. Join our community, the live classes, and access the bonus sessions via the link in the description of this episode. And for now, I wish you a beautiful journey inwards. And if you're good right where you are, then please slowly but surely start closing the eyes. And as I assume most of us are in the comforts of our own homes, I invite you to, every time that you feel there is a distraction taking place outside of your room, or a distraction taking place because of a thought about the past or the future, then it can really help on your next exhales, following that distraction, to create a little bit of sound. So let's do that a few times right now, breathing in through the nostrils and exhaling out through the mouth with a humming sound or with a sigh. Let's do that again. Inhaling out or inhaling in through the nose. And exhaling out through the mouth. Let's do that one more time, knowing that just making this sound can already calm down our nervous system. And please keep going if you feel that would help you land more during this journey. See if there is also some softness that you can bring into the face. Especially if you've been looking at a screen, it might be nice to soften the space between the eyes. Soften the many small muscles around the eyes. Noticing if you're holding any tension in the jaws. If you do, you might take a moment to unclench. To be opening up the mouth a few times, like you're chewing on a very thick type of bubble gum. Just to open up some of the muscles. Knowing that a lot of these movements are actually stemming from the midbrain, from the pons. And then we're going to journey a little bit further south. right to the place where your buttocks meet the cushion underneath you. So as you allow yourself to bring your awareness into the space of where your hips meet the floor, you might notice whether the sensation that is coming to you is more of a kinesthetic experience. So you're feeling your hips, your buttocks touch the cushion or the floor below you. Maybe you see it in more of a visual manner. Maybe you just kind of know that that's where the hips end and the floor begins. And as we do, we can start to invite our breath to, almost as you will, breathe into this lower region of the hips. This is not something that we can really force. It's something that's we can relax into, isn't it? So breathing in to the lower hips, in to the tailbone. And you might observe that when you do allow your breath to deepen like this, you also give yourself permission automatically to relax the muscles in the butt, even if it's just a tiny bit more relaxed than what it was before. Perhaps you even feel drawn to make some little circular movements as you feel more energy and attention flowing into this space. Now, from this space that's a little bit more open than it was before, we're going to take a little trip up north again. And what can be really helpful as our attention moves back up is to bring our hands, bring our fingers towards our lower back. And perhaps very gently locate and press upon the tailbone, right where the buttocks end and the lower hips begin. And if you've ever snowboarded, you know exactly where this is located. So with one or both hands, you may gently press around this area. And then slowly these fingertips or these fingers, these hands can move up a little bit more towards the space of the brain. So very slowly, inch by inch almost, we start following the path of our spine. Perhaps gently massaging in circles around the spine, or just exploring by a soft touch that still makes you know that that's where your focus goes right now. And at a certain point, of course, our arms are not made of jelly, so we won't be able to go all the way up the spine, but perhaps you can move it up into a certain point of the back of the abdomen, in the direction of the back of the shoulders. And then instead, opting in to bring our hands, bring our arms more upwards, and from there, following the spine from the lower part of the neck, following these little bumps of our spine, of our skeleton, our incredible body, into the lower part of the skull. You might start feeling the difference once you land at the bottom of the skull, because there's a lot of sensation that can be experienced here. So gently massaging in and around this place, you may notice that perhaps it feels a bit numb or very sensitive. However it shows up for you today, there's nothing to change or shift. All we do is bring our curiosity towards it. Beautiful. And so you might notice that at the bottom of the skull, there is this denture. This is right in the center. When you move up, you almost feel these two lines that are coming together from the skull. And right in that center point is where we're going to do a little bit of a gentle reset. And I keep saying gentle because it's a very sensitive place. So let's never overdo it. Put too much pressure where we only want to send love. And so if you've located that place at the center of the skull, where the palms moves into the medulla, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our three longest fingers, so our index finger, our middle finger, our ring finger, and we're going to be placing them like such, placing them against each other and then into the center of that denture. And once it's there, we're going to be moving it into a clockwise rotation for 3 times. So it can stay in the same place, but just applying the pressure in a clockwise movement 3 times. And then moving it counterclockwise, so the other way around 3 times. And then holding our hands here, we're going to apply a little bit of pressure by pushing back our head into the fingers, opening up our arms, our elbows to the side, and breathing in to the top, and then breathing in a little bit more. And then exhaling out, rounding the neck, rounding the shoulders, breathing out fully, breathing out a little bit more. And then coming back up, all the way up, opening up the elbows, breathing in a little bit more, if you're still with me. And then one more time, exhaling out, moving down, bringing the elbows together in the front, pushing out the air a little bit more. And then releasing the grip and allowing the head to balance back on to the spine, letting the hands rest on the legs. So if you feel like trying it again, we put our fingers in the center, we open ourselves up, breathe in a little bit more. There's always more room. And then we exhaled out by moving it forward and then pushing out the air a little bit more again. And then we did that 2 times. And this really increases the oxygen flow and kind of the awakening of this beautiful bridge between the intellect and the body. So if you're feeling a little bit dull during the day, if you feel there is pressure there, tension from perhaps stress, then definitely reflect on this exercise to bring it all back into balance. Take a moment to check in how you feel right now, noticing if there is also any sensations that might have changed by doing this exercise. Sensations that might have changed by connecting to the spine with your own gentle touch. Perhaps this practice supports you a little bit during the day. Helps to move through life a little bit more from the experience of the body and not only the mind. So as always, after these sessions, you can stay much longer in meditation if that feels aligned. I'm going to close this session. So I thank you very much for exploring your inner world today with me. And I look forward to seeing you at the next one. A beautiful day. If you enjoyed this eccentric journey, then please take a moment to like or share this episode, whatever feels right for you to do on the platform that you're tuning in from, because it actually helps greatly with the growth and the creation of this meditation channel. Thank you.